So welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We are very happy to have you here. Our goal is to help you learn about social responsibility, to learn a little bit about how retailers and suppliers are thinking about social responsibility, to help you learn more about SMETA social audits, what they are, why they are important, the benefits of SMETA, and a review of the process of how to get started with SCS. Again, we welcome your questions. Please type them into the chat box as we go along so we can answer them for you. This webinar should be around 30 minutes or so, which will give us plenty of time for Q&A at the end. Most of you I don't know, some of you I do. Welcome everybody. My name is Oren Jaffe. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager in Sustainability here at SCS Global Services. And I've been working with brands and retailers implementing CSR and supply chain transparency and ethical human rights programs in supply chain for over 15 years. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Sandy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sandy Ledesma, and I am the account manager for the SMETA program. I've been at SCS for 2 years, focusing on audit coordination and audit planning across multiple social audit programs. And now as the current account manager for SMETA, I'm going to ensure our clients are prepared and have a smooth audit process with SCS. I will be working directly with you, moving you along in the audit planning process.
Thank you, Sandy. So a quick agenda. We'll start with company background, a little bit about SCS. Then I'm going to get into talking about evolving perspectives around social responsibility. Then we're going to dive deep into the SMETA social audit overview. And within that, we are going to look at the audit, the process to getting started, auditor qualifications, and really understanding the pre and post audit process as well. And then we'll finish up talking about the benefits of SMETA and why work with SCS. So SCS is a third-party certification body located in the Bay Area on East Bay, California, with satellite offices around the world, and has been a global leader in environmental and sustainability certification, auditing, training, and standards development for over 36 years. SCS's programs span across industries, recognizing achievements in green building, product manufacturing, food and agriculture, forestry, and more. SCS's vision is to promote sustainable decision-making and policies in every sector of the economy around the world. Our programs are designed to recognize achievements at the highest levels, and that is included in product and food safety and quality and social responsibility. And our programs are also designed to stimulate continuous improvement on the path towards sustainability. Want to give you a small sample of some of the services we offer. We have over 80 certifications that we work with across all industries, including organic. We're focused, these are focused on the food and agriculture group, fair trade. We have extensive training program, good manufacturing. We do work with Starbucks and run their cafe practices program and oversee that. We have a responsibly grown certification, as you can see, and then SMETA and SEDEX, which we'll be learning quite a bit about. Okay. Looks like nobody has questions. So social responsibility within business has been around for a long time. Many industries, such as apparel and footwear, consumer products, consumer electronics, have been implementing social responsibility programs for well over 25 years. Many companies, such as Gap, Levi's, Nike, Patagonia, and others you might have heard of, have been doing social responsibility work for many, many years. When we talk about social responsibility, I refer to doing the right thing for the people within your company or the people that come in contact with your company in some way. And you, within this context, it's via the supply chain. So it would include people, working conditions, human rights, health and wellness of your employees. It would include human resources, community, social impact, you might have heard of, legal requirements, including labor laws. Social responsibility, therefore, is a huge area of risk to brands and retailers. And so this section of our presentation will look at what social responsibility means for retailers and large corporations, and also what it means for suppliers. So diving into what it means for retailers, at its core, social responsibility is a way to mitigate risk within their global supply chain. When human rights violations are found in a large global supply chain, the impacts are huge for a company, both reputationally as well as financially. The most challenging scenario for a large company is to land on the front page of the New York Times for a child or a slave labor violation within their supply chain. They want to make sure that if something does happen, or if there is an issue in their supply chain, that it's just an occurrence and that they can remediate it and work to fix it so it doesn't become a ripple of many occurrences that then really affects their business and their brand reputation. So therefore, retailers are trying to pursue competitive advantage, and you see a lot of companies try to utilize social responsibility and corporate responsibility as a way to provide industry leadership through their efforts. They want to build a positive brand reputation and then avoid supply chain disruptions. We're seeing issues with the meat packing and with COVID, and all of that is disrupting supply chains, and that is just not great for companies. And for there's a lot of companies that are on the call and a lot of smaller farmers and suppliers to those companies. So we want to make sure everybody understands the perspective. The other thing the retailers want is to proactively navigate through legal, safety, regulatory compliance challenges globally. There are laws and regulations in every country. They're very different around the world. It is a big challenge for companies to navigate that. So for you as a supplier, to mitigate your risk to your customers is very important. So retailers also want suppliers to manage employee recruitment and satisfaction and lower turnover at their companies. And they want their suppliers, from their suppliers' workforce, to have higher productivity. That is very important for retailers and something that we all need to keep in mind. So jumping over to suppliers, what does this mean for suppliers? Well, retailers and brands are demanding more supply chain transparency. Transparency is very important. Brands and retailers want to understand where their products are made and under what type of conditions, all the way down to the raw material. That's very difficult to do, but that's the goal. Transparency allows you as a supplier to build trust with your customers and to show you are a good partner who is not a risk to do business with. Therefore, point number 2, proactively mitigating your own supply chain risks. One way to do that is with a SMETA audit. Means allows you to increase your customers' confidence to grow their business relationship with you. This also means stronger leverage to earn business with new customers. What I mean by stronger leverage is that there is no doubt that you as a supplier have your social responsibility program buttoned up, and therefore you present a low risk and you're able to become a preferred partner to do business with. If you're going after a new customer to sell your products or your food to, they want to know you're not a risk. So they might say, are you doing social responsibility? And if you have a program, and I have a SMETA audit, you show them, it fast tracks you to getting more business. And that said, it does, saving money by being proactive. And what I mean by that is that if you're proactive and you do social audits up front before your customers ask you for it, you don't have to do separate social audits for each customer. And one benefit of SMETA, which we'll talk about later, is that you're able to do one audit and it goes in the SMETA, the SEDEX database, and you're able to share that one audit with multiple customers. So you don't have to do that audit over and over again. Again, if there's any questions, type them into the box. So now jumping into the SMETA social audit and what it is. SMETA is a social compliance audit methodology, and it's based on the Ethical Trade Initiative Base Code of Conduct, the International Labor Organization, the ILO principles and conventions, and local country labor laws and requirements. The ETI, the Ethical Trading Initiative, is an alliance of companies, trade unions, and voluntary organizations that work in partnership to improve the lives of workers across the globe. The ETI Base Code of Conduct, we'll dive into that. Sandy will dive into that a little bit later. But a code of conduct is really just a set of expectations for companies in reference to workers in their supply chain that are employed either directly or indirectly. And again, we'll get into that a little bit deeper. So there's another organization I want to mention called SEDEX. SEDEX is a ethical trade service provider that is working to improve the working conditions in global supply chains. It's a membership organization with 60,000 members in 180 countries. The SEDEX organization oversees the SMETA audit methodology, and SCS is an approved audit company of SEDEX. SMETA audits encompass all industry sectors for responsible business practices, and they include working conditions, health and safety, legal, business ethics, and even environmental responsibility. SMETA are widely recognized by brands and retailers. So Walmart, Costco, Amazon, Target accept a SMETA audit when they're asking for social responsibility and social audits in order to do business. And that I mentioned they're easily shared with stakeholders on the SEDEX advanced online platform. And we'll get into that a little bit more. So why are SMETA audits important? What do they tell you? Beyond just allowing you to do business with major retailers and brands and lowering your risk, they give you an idea of what types of working conditions exist, at your facilities. It allows you to understand whether your products are manufactured and processed and harvested with environmental responsibility. It helps you understand if worker pay meets legal requirements, minimum wage, overtime, if workers are hired properly, they have proper W-9s, they're paid the right wages. If health and safety protocols and legal regulations are adhered to, including proper personal protective equipment. Do they have legal breaks and meal times, access to clean water, huge right now is hand, eye wash, and sanitation stations in this age of COVID. So the other thing is exit signs, emergency exits, fire safety plans. All of these are really important to know for your own company to understand what's going on. So the last thing that I'll say is that it also gives you an idea if there's any child labor, slavery, or forced labor, or human trafficking. So now I'm going to pass it over to my colleague Sandy, and she's going to dive a little bit deeper about how to get started with SCS and a little bit more about the audit process. So thanks, Sandy.
Thank you, Oren. Yeah, so now that Oren has given us an overview of what the SMETA audit is, I would like to take the opportunity to walk you through the first steps and how to get started with SCS. The first step would be to go to our SMETA webpage on our official website or contact our team to obtain the SMETA audit application. Please feel free to call us during the steps as we're happy to walk you through the process. And feel free to contact our team too when you're filling out the application if you have any questions. The second step, which you can actually do in conjunction with the first step, is registering your site on the SEDEX website. SEDEX is the platform Oren previously mentioned, which is used to share the supplier's audit reports with your linked customers. In order for your audit to be uploaded to the SEDEX Advanced platform, you must first become a member. Please see the link to find out more information on types of membership and cost. The Supplier B membership is the most common membership for a supplier, and it costs about $120 annually. The buyer membership is determined by annual sales turnover and cost, including training and account management. SCS is more than happy to help you get up and running on SEDEX and provide assistance to choose the right membership for your operation. Once we've received your application, we will send a quote to you with the total estimated cost. We will then wait for you to sign the work order and the professional services agreement, where we will send you the retainer invoice, which represents 50% of the estimated audit fees. Please note that the retainer invoice payment is due upon 30 days of receipt and is needed to confirm the audit dates on the auditor's calendars. These first 5 steps can be completed as quickly as 1 week, really depending on the client response time. Once you are all registered on SEDEX, your next step would be to complete the supplier audit questionnaire on the SEDEX platform, which is abbreviated the SAQ. Completing the SAQ can help you to identify important ethical, social, and environmental issues in your business ahead of the audit. Guidance can be found on how to complete this SAQ at the following link provided. We ask our suppliers to review the following 3 main documents in preparation for the audit. The first document is called the SMETA Best Practice Guidance, and it is a best practice guidance on conducting ethical trade audits. With this document, SEDEX has developed a threshold for compliance that all auditors, as well as affiliate audit companies like ourselves, must follow. The second document is called the SMETA Measurement Criteria, which consists of a set of instructions on the items to be checked by the auditors. It lays out all the clauses of the ETI code and gives details on what specific items need to be checked by the auditors, which is a great resource for suppliers to look into when you're looking into specific requirements by each clause. The third document is called the SEDEX Supplier Workbook, and it helps suppliers understand what a good practice looks like when working towards these ETI and other code requirements. It also covers how to reach those requirements by offering practical guidance on implementation, which helps with areas that you as a supplier have identified risk. All 3 of these documents are publicly available on the SEDEX website, and links have been provided below. The SMETA audit structure can be defined by a number of factors. The main factor is choosing between a 2-pillar audit or a 4-pillar audit. The 2-pillar audit is the required audit structure, and it encompasses a labor standards section, a health and safety section, an abbreviated environmental section with additional elements of entitlement to work, subcontracting, and home working. The 4-pillar audit encompasses the same labor standards and health safety section, but it also includes an extended environmental section and a business ethics section. The four-pillar audit structure is optional, but we highly recommend it as it is a complete assessment of your operations. It helps create new client relationships who may be requiring the four-pillar audit moving forward, and it makes you an attractive operation for major retailers, as the four-pillar audit addresses all risk areas within the SMETA audit. As mentioned previously, the SMETA audit is based off of the ETI code. The first is employment is freely chosen. The second is freedom of association and the right to collective bargaining are respected. The third is working conditions are safe and hygienic. The fourth is child labor shall not be used. The fifth is living wages are paid, which is when the auditors will be looking at those minimum wage requirements and making sure they're being met by reviewing worker records and conducting worker interviews. The sixth is working hours are not excessive. The seventh is no discrimination is practiced. The eighth is regular employment is provided, which is when the auditors look into employee contracting processes and understand their terms of employment. The ninth is no harsh or inhumane treatment is allowed. Please note there are additional elements in the audit report, which include universal rights covering the UN guiding principles for business and human rights, as well as the 10th section, which includes the entitlement to work and immigration, as well as the environmental section and business ethics section if it is a four-pillar audit. Please let us know if you're interested in any in-depth training on any of these specific elements of the SMETA audit. I would now like to take the opportunity to highlight our fantastic auditing team. All of SSCS's SMETA social auditors will soon be APSCA registered or APSCA certified, which means that they are skilled and knowledgeable in the area of social compliance and meet a higher standard of social auditing. Oren will later talk a little bit more about our involvement in APSCA. Our professional auditors have over 10 years of experience across different social audit programs. They have a strong background in agricultural sector on a national and international level. They are also multilingual and located globally. The experience, confidence, and professionalism from our auditing team helps us bring a better auditing experience to your operation. Once all pre-audit steps have been completed, the audit planning starts. The duration of the audit planning really depends on how far in advance the client is reaching out to schedule the audit. We always recommend our clients to reach out between 2 to 3 months to ensure our preferences on the dates can be met. Otherwise, our auditors' calendars can get booked up quite quickly, and it makes it harder to meet our exact requested dates if this is a short notice audit. The on-site audit begins with an opening meeting, which is where the auditor will meet with key personnel to discuss expectations of the audit. He or she will then continue with the document review, which includes payroll, employee files, trainings, written policies, as well as tour the fields, facilities, and offices, and interviewing management and workers, all while comparing these site practices against ETI code requirements and local labor laws. The on-site audit is concluded with the closing meeting, where the auditor will present the audit findings and communicate directly with the client to ensure understanding and to identify that the client's initial corrective actions in response to the findings. This is recorded on a document called the CAP-R, which the client will then use as a guide to move forward with the post-audit process. We will be uploading your finalized report and CAP-R on the SEDEX platform within 20 business days. The auditor can find 3 types of findings during the SMETA audit. The first one is a non-compliance, which is when a site practice does not meet the law or the ETI code. The second is an observation, which is when a site practice does not contravene law or ETI code, but an opportunity for improvement. It is also when there is a site practice that's observed that can become a non-compliance later on if it's not being addressed. The third is a good example, which is when a site practice exceeds the law or the ETI code. This would be a best of practice observed by the auditor. As a result, this audit communicates value to your customers as it shares your best practices, which not all audit programs do, as well as encourages operations like yourself to document and report these best practices. Once we upload the audit report and cap our report to SEDEX, the post-audit process begins. The company publishes the audit report, where then the results are then shared with all your customers linked on the SEDEX Advanced platform. SCS will then review the corrective actions where we will close the non-compliances either through a desktop audit or an on-site follow-up audit. Please note that SEDEX requires that on-site follow-up audits take place in any case where a finding has been raised that requires review of individual worker records in order to confirm the corrective action plan and to confirm that it is being compliant. For example, issues related to payroll, worker records. As a SEDEX member, you will have access to a document called the SMETA Corrective Action Guidance, which guides suppliers on possible corrective actions that can be carried out on a non-compliance found during the on-site audit. I hope that this overview has answered many of your primary questions regarding the audit process, but as a reminder that we will have some time in the end of this webinar to answer any additional questions you may have by adding them to the chat or questions box. We will now wrap up this webinar by having my colleague Oren talk about the benefits of SMETA and why you should pursue SMETA with SCS. Oren?
Thank you, Sandy. So jumping right in, I mean, what are the benefits of SMETA? SMETA offers you greater transparency into your company's supply chain practices and working conditions. And why is that important? Well, it allows you to make better business decisions if you know what's going on in your facilities from a legal and compliance and human rights and social responsibility perspective. You can be a better company and find ways to be more efficient and even save money. So good business practice, it's also just good to ensure fair treatment of workers and improve environmental practices. Again, that is just smart business to look at your company from environmental and a social responsibility as well as just bottom line profit perspective. The other benefit is to adhere to multiple customer requirements at the same time. As someone had asked a question, SMETA is accepted by both Costco and Walmart and Amazon and Target, among many others. And so this will allow you for cost efficiencies and less audit fatigue with having to go through this process multiple times. And then the last would be protecting your long-term business relationships, because you are taking your social responsibility serious. You are supporting your customers' efforts to ensure ethical and legal treatment of workers in their supply chains and reducing their environmental impacts, which is just a benefit to everybody. So wrapping up, why SCS? SCS has been around for over 36 years, focused on third-party assessments, doing high-quality audits, and really being a leader in this space. Our expertise, one of our great expertise, is in the food and agriculture space. I mean, that is where we have been for decades. The other thing is we really care about our customers, and we have, you would be working with Sandy. We are responsive. We provide, local contacts. So you're not going to be kind of, thrown to someone in another country to coordinate. Everything is done with local people, and you really ensure that you're going to get, response and focus. And we really do care about our clients. We care about you. Next is we're a member of APSCA, and it's the Association of Professional Social Compliance Auditors. It's a relatively new organization that has set a bar for what a social auditor needs to have, kind of like being a CPA. Starting this July, SEDEX is requiring that all audit affiliate companies and SMETA auditors are part of APSCA. So it was really important for us to make this step. And we're very happy to say that all of our social auditors and all of the SMETA audits we will be doing are part of APSCA. And last, bundle. We have a lot of clients that do multiple services with us. So we are happy to provide discount pricing and cost savings and efficiencies by working with us for multiple services. So that is it. That is our webinar. We do have some questions. You can type them into the question pane. This is my contact info. Please reach out. I'm not hard to find, and I'm on LinkedIn, and we really appreciate everybody being here. So let me jump into a couple of questions. The first one was, how would the audit work for a company that works with co-manufacturers? Um, so that's a good question, and typically the the brand or retailer who's asking is, they want to know anywhere that your product can potentially be a risk to them. So most of the companies will, ask their co-manufacturers to do a SMETA audit as well. And obviously that shares the cost, but really wherever it's produced, should have a SMETA audit. And we can talk about specific cases if you wanted to, reach out. We can have a conversation. So similar is, how would this help the designer or manufacturer of a meat cutting machine who supplies the machine to a packer who supplies the retailer? How does this benefit the machine manufacturer? Well, I mean, that's another good question. It allows you to get a deeper sense of what's going on, and that you're adhering to legal and regulatory issues, and that there's nothing illegal that you don't know about. A lot of times it might look, your company, the might look buttoned up, but then when you get in there and you look at the HR documents and we interview workers privately and you find out what's going on, you find that there's issues. So really, does that meat cutting machine manufacturer have to have a SMETA? I mean, the answer is no, but it would help them become a better company and know what risks there are before it became a problem. Okay, next question. So is this the same as a COC, a code of conduct audit, that some customers require? Yes. Most large companies have their own code of conduct. A lot of companies have just adopted the ETI, the Ethical Trading Initiative base code, as their own. Codes of conduct are relatively similar. A lot of companies like to make it their wording, but yes, the SMETA audit is similar to other, code of conduct or social audit that are out there. Let's see. So everybody who has a SMETA audit is automatically a SEDEX member, correct? Kind of. Sandy, do you want to take that one?
Yes, of course. So the question is, really a lot of our suppliers ask is, can I have a SMETA audit without joining SEDEX? And the answer is yes. However, you are not receiving all the benefits of a SEDEX member. The primary reason for someone to be conducting a SMETA audit is to share your audit results with your retailers and with your linked customers. And in order to upload your report to the SEDEX Advanced System, you do need to be a SEDEX member. So you are able to have the SMETA audit without being a SEDEX member, but you're not able to upload those results and share those results with your linked customers. And there's also an additional cost if you are not a SEDEX member for the process.
Thank you. So a couple others real quick. I don't know if everybody saw this, but will SMETA audit be accepted by both Costco and Walmart? The answer is yes. We know the difference. Somebody asked, my company owns 3 different sites. Do we have to pay and audit each site separately, or will it be formatted as one company and one audit? The answer is that each site is different and it will have its own, and you have to do them separately. Inside, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Or I also like to add that it's also very important to confirm the scope with your retailer, because the retailer could make the decision of maybe we are able to do a one site with a multiple site, but that really is depending on what the retailer is requiring for the SMETA audit.
Yes, thank you. And again, we can talk deeper about that. So the other one is, how would this be different or better than a fair trade audit or certification? Do you want to start that, Sandy, or do you want me to touch on that?
Oh, I mean, you can always add to my answer if you'd like. So the SMETA audit is a social compliance audit as well, very similar to a fair trade audit certification. I will say that the SMETA audit process is a little more simplified in the way that the audit duration is shorter than a regular fair trade audit certification, but it does comply with the same requirements as it's still a social compliance audit, just like fair trade.
And I would just add that fair trade, you actually get a certification, you get a logo to put on your product, so it's product based, whereas SMETA is a little bit more overarching to encompass many different industries. So it encompasses 35 different industries for the social audit. And I have actually heard that some large retailers are now accepting fair trade in lieu of a SMETA audit. That's obviously a case by case basis. But yeah, I think fair trade encompasses a lot of the same things, but with SMETA you don't get a certification, you don't get a mark, you don't get a pass fail. Let me see. What is the typical time to do an audit? To do a SMETA audit, 1 or 2 days. That depends on how many employees are at the site. So if it's under 100 employees, it's a 1 day. If it's between 101 and 499 or 500 employees, that would be 2. And then over 500 would actually get into 3 days. And it all is based on, SMETA has a certain number of employee interviews, individual and group interviews that they need to conduct. So with more employees at a site, there's more interviews that are required. Is there such thing as a SMETA number? Sandy?
Yes,
I think there's a SMETA number.
Yes, I think, Mario, I think you're referring to a SEDEX number. When you do become a SEDEX member, you receive a SEDEX number, which starts with the letter Z. And that is what is attached to your audit report. And that is what identifies your audit report to your site. And you're able to share those results with your customer. I also want to take advantage of the opportunity to answer Christina's question. If you have Walmart as a customer, which pillar is the one required by them, 2-pillar or 4-pillar? Walmart is actually accepting both types, but like I've said in our presentation, we do recommend the 4-pillar audit, as it does have more of a complete assessment of your operation compared to the 2-pillar audit.
Okay. And then, so 2 questions from Karina. How far into the supply chain does SMETA audit look? Tier 1, Tier 2? Right now, I think it's just Tier 1. Obviously it's best practice to go into Tier 2, but right now it's just Tier 1 is a challenge in itself. And then how long is this SMETA audit good for? Typically they're annual. Obviously with COVID, I think a lot of the retailers are, extending that out, another 3 to 6 months because of the challenges with getting auditors on site. But typically it's an annual audit event. And then how much does a SMETA audit cost? Good question. Thank you, Mario. It depends. So if it's in the United States, We also do them, in Mexico, so it depends on the geographical location and it depends on the number of employees. At a high level, we've been doing them, for smaller facilities with under 100 people. It's a one-day event. It's around 3,000, and with bigger sites, a couple of days, 2-3 days, it can get into the $4, $5, $6,000 range per audit. Again, reach out and let us know your specific facility, where it's located. We have auditors around the world. So if you happen to be in a place near where an auditor is, and it's a small place, there's, obviously opportunities to do that. And we can give, discounts for multiple sites. So how soon can we receive a copy of the webinar? Tomorrow you will get that, Oscar. Great questions. Thank you, everybody. I think that's it. If there's anything else, please email ojaffe@scesglobalservices.com. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us. I thought that hopefully it was valuable to you all, and we are happy to work with you. And again, Sandy, any last thoughts?
Just wanted to say thank you, everyone, for your time, and we hope you learned a lot during this webinar. We look forward to working with you as you start this SMETA audit process with us.
Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day. Take care.